Okay, we are back. Hooray. Last lecture, we covered the way of planning your outsourcing strategy. Are you going to get someone with perfect English who only needs limited direction and has all the skills in the world, or maybe someone who don't speak too good, but really only has basic skills, and therefore you can save a little money? With that insight in hand, let's move forward to finding where these people are. Now, there are a lot of places you can go to find editors, but I'm going to suggest the ones that work for me and where I go back to time and time again when I need people for post-production. Now, the first one is good old Upwork, that god-awful Frankenstein of Elance smushed together with Odesk. The second site is a site called Pixy. We actually have a deal from them on Evan's Perks. They'll give you a free $100. It's worth checking out. The third one you might have heard of already, and that one's called Fiverr. Fiverr is seriously like a Swiss Army knife of websites. Now, if you're not in my outsourcing courses, let me introduce you to the first one, Upwork. Now, Upwork is the largest online marketplace for finding contractors of virtually any sort. No, you're not going to find a contractor to fix your leaky faucet. You probably would use Thumbtack for that, but you can find any contractor that can work online virtually. And that means programmers, virtual assistants, writers, researchers, designers, engineers, lawyers, even accountants, and yes, video professionals. Yes, people who work in video like to be referred to as video professionals, but if you really want to be PC, you really should refer to them by their more acceptable name, little professionals. Upwork is a monster of a market, and they literally have millions of freelancers on their system. This is usually my go-to first when looking for editors. Here you're going to find a range of prices, a range of capabilities, and a range of communication abilities. In fact, 4 out of the 5 video editors that I work with today are from Upwork originally. Now, the way you use the site is pretty simple. Sign up, post a job, and then fill out the relevant information for the job posting. It'll ask you what skills are relevant to your position, and you have the option of leaving this blank, and if you do, that's perfectly fine. But if you decide to actually list out the skills you need, then keep in mind that the system will actually ping more people, and you'll get more people to apply and then choose from. If you just want a timeline editor, then just type in the name of common video editing softwares like Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, Sony Vega, and then whatever. Try something generic like video editing. Now, if you want more complicated skills, then try some generic ones, but then also add in some things like animation or YouTube or Adobe After Effects, Apple Motion, or even motion graphics. Anything, frankly, you can find that would fit in the ballpark of who you are looking for. Generally, just try to find some software they use or some specific thing they do within that specialty, and then chances are that you'll find the people you're looking for. Now, people will bid and then submit what they call cover letters, which are basically just written statements as to why they're interested in the gig, and usually they're just templates. But from there, you can actually message them. One thing I strongly suggest to do after posting on Upwork is actually to go to that section where you can search for freelancers. It's, big surprise, under the header freelancers, and you click on that, then you can go to find freelancers. So go ahead and input the information you're looking for. Use the same specifications used in the job posting to narrow your search down. Then just go through this and then look for people that match your criteria and click invite to apply. They'll get a message directly asking them to apply, and in the vast majority of cases, they actually will apply. If you spend 5 to 10 minutes doing this, you'll easily get 3 times as many applications. And you honestly don't have to customize these at all. Just click invite to apply, send invite to apply, they get the point. Now, the second place worth talking about is Pixy, which operates very similarly to Upwork, but is focused solely on video professionals. With this site, you'll be asked to input more information about where you are in the process of your video, what you'd like in your video, how long it is, etc., etc. Nothing too surprising, but I will point out that Pixy is number 1, generally going to be more expensive, and number 2, it serves as a platform to find all types of video professionals, not just video editors. If you need a videographer, also known as that person who goes with you to the shoot and operates the camera, then you can find that there as well. Pixy has its ups and downs. Generally speaking, you'll get a better sampling of editors from expensive countries with more impressive portfolios, and fewer from editors that are just starting out or might be in less traditional countries. Of course, you'll get both types. I'm just saying that there's usually a skew to the former. Because of that, I usually only use Pixy if I know I have a modest budget to get this done. If I want to scrap my way through an editing job without spending much, I'll have a much better shot at finding the right combination of help on Upwork. However, Upwork, I might not find people who are as polished. Personally, I suggest trying both and seeing what you like more. Now, the last place worth taking a peek at is a little counterintuitive, and it's called Fiverr. Oh, sweet, sweet Fiverr. Fiverr is spelled with 2 R's for some reason, if you don't remember. It's a site where you can buy one-off services for $5 or always some multiple of $5. Fiverr, believe it or not, it's actually a good place to find video editors and especially animators. How does that work exactly if you're just using the site to pay $5 at a time? Well, actually, part of the reason people offer their services on Fiverr is because that $5 might not be much, but there's a good chance that they'll turn you into a long-term client, which does in the end pay off for them pretty well. So in that way, it's actually pretty normal to fish for editors here. To find people here, it's pretty straightforward. Search for what you're looking for, like edit a video if you want someone generic, or add graphics for graphics editor, or use verbs like animate or custom animation to find people with skills in animation. Go through the list you receive and just watch the portfolio videos. When you see someone you you can either just message them directly about the larger job, or try ordering a smaller job for a small part of your video or video series first and see how they do. If they do well, then at that time, you can just ask them if they want to do work on all the others. That is actually the preferred route of doing this, because otherwise you're just going to waste a lot of time onboarding someone that you find out you don't like them. Now, you can use the Fiverr pricing system if you want to, and if it's applicable, to continue paying them, or you can just ask to pay them off of Fiverr, and then you can set up a direct relationship using PayPal or whatever. Now, Fiverr is a gold mine for editors because for whatever reason, Fiverr kind of became ground zero for that explainer craze that happened over the last 5 years. Every person with a website thought for some reason they needed an explainer video, and thus a glut of cheap video animators flocked to Fiverr to offer their services. The beauty, though, is that because they're in a marketplace compared to each other, the competition has driven their cost down significantly. That means you get people that are cheap as $5 for half a minute of animation, which is absolutely crazy by the standards of Upwork or Video Pixy. The thing is, if you're making a lot of videos, say you're doing a series or a course or something similar, you have a lot of video, and if you try to use animation throughout hours of video, well, that can get extremely expensive. If you're in that situation and you insist on needing animation, then try Fiverr. So those are the three that should meet all your needs: Upwork, Video Pixy, and Fiverr. Okay, that's great, you know where to go, but well, you might not know, especially if you're new to video, how to go about selecting the right person. Well, there are a couple obvious things you'll use at first. Number one, they all will have portfolios attached to their bid, or at least on their Fiverr page. Just look through it and see if it matches what you're looking for. If they don't have any videos that are similar to the format of video you're trying to make, then try your best to judge whether you think the quality of their other stuff is something close to what you're looking for. Chances are if they make something you like, well, they can probably make it for whatever format you're looking to fill. Now, the other thing right off the bat you'll look for is what we talked about last lecture. Are they in your sweet spot with regards to price, communication skill, and skill set? If they're not, well, then you can save yourself time by just skipping over that person. With those two checks, you can usually narrow your selection down to a smaller group of people. Great. Now, here's what I do to get the extra mile and really see if they are worth working with. If I'm working on a large project with multiple videos, I ask them to do what's called a trial video. Much like an audition for an acting role, you can ask them to do exactly what the job is for, but just for a really small and limited selection. In this situation, you'd simply grab a piece of your video, try to keep it small enough to not take a significant effort, but long enough that it'll actually give you an idea of whether or not they can do the job, and then just ask them to do a trial video if they're okay with it. Now, in most cases, as long as this is for a big multi-video project, they'll be fine with it. In some cases, you might want to offer to pay them for the test video, just knowing that it'll get more participation by the editors, and the amount you'll pay out is usually negligible compared to the greater project. Some editors can be weary about doing these because maybe they got burned in the past or something or whatever, so yeah, sometimes you can offer just like a flat rate. Now, if we're talking about making, say, a video ad or a promotional video, then this technique probably isn't really gonna fly. The follow-up project probably isn't big enough for the editor, and the trial itself would require too much work. In that case, I generally just like to give them a question or two about the video, ask them what they think of the idea you have for the video, or ask them how they would edit something. I use this verbal test just as a general way to see whether or not the person is articulate enough that I know working with them will be easy. And it also gives you an idea of what their attitude in general is like. Some editors think they are holier than thou and can't be bothered to do anything unless they're being paid. Those people suck, don't hire them. They're never worth it. Hire someone who doesn't act or think in such a transactional way and who actually shows they can think about your project you're vetting them for. Also doesn't hurt if they're somewhat interested in what they're doing and not just doing it for the money. If you break down your vetting process this way, you'll usually come away with an obvious winner. If not, then either try again or just accept the fact that you might have to take on risk by hiring the closest thing you can find. On the bright side, you can usually tell very quickly if they're not going to work out, in which case you can just start the process all over again. The last thing I'll mention is, and this is kind of a curveball, but occasionally You get some really good values by posting on Craigslist. I know this is bizarre, and there's no system for managing the process with them or the relationship with them, but if you're smart about it, you can handle it fine. Usually what I like to do on Craigslist is post in the gig section. There's a section specifically for video editing services. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is, but you can find it. It's pretty obvious. Then what you can do is, what I like to do is post in areas like LA, because in LA, there's a ton of people who do video editing, and in fact, a lot of them don't have enough stuff in their portfolio, so a lot of them are pretty flexible on price. And they're also pretty talented, because that's kind of the mecca for like video editing. All right, guys, that's enough of that. Hopefully you know what to do when you need an editor. See you in the next lecture.